we're back. The boys are back in town. Like if this is the town, the boys, we're back in it. We were gone, and now we're back. I'm Chase, along with Billy. The Kings of Tennessee are back, baby. Like we never freaking left. Billy, it's good to be back. It's good to be here.
It's good to be back. We've never been more back than we are right now, dude. It feels good. I'll take some of the blame for us going on such a long hiatus. We'll call it the old vacation, the I guess spring vacation early. But no, I mean we were just talking. It feels like kind of a dead time, but there's been a lot locally, like with Tennessee going on their run. Spring practice has started at most places, almost basically every place. Vanderbilt got started late, and then baseball heating up. I think baseball starts too early, but it's here. We got the major leagues here, so once baseball comes and you start to get sports combining and overlapping, that's when you get really busy in this business. But I'm loving it. Good to be back, man.
We can call this season 2 of the boys. We
I
took our
like
little
it.
postseason break, and now we're all the way back. If we were a body part, we'd be a back because we're back. But there's a lot to get into. Like Billy had mentioned, Tennessee went on a run, which we got Zach Edey to death. I can't wait to talk about that. Vanderbilt has their guy. I think we finally did it. We finally made Vanderbilt basketball great again. Billy, we've been I can't say champion. Yep, we've been rooting for this team for a while to be back, and I think Vanderbilt's just like us. I think they're back.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited about that. Vanderbilt's back. We got baseball, the second ever edition, kind of the main event of this show. You've been waiting for it. Billy's Baseball Corner is back like it never freaking left. So we've got that coming up. That's our main event. Get your popcorn ready. Get your pudding pops ready. Your soda cans ready, cause he's back and we're back. I don't know. I'm gonna break a record for more backs in an episode.
I love it. I love the energy so far. We are so back.
If we were sexy, we would be bringing it back, right? You know, little JT shout out. JT, a king of Tennessee, by the way. But
Boom.
let's get started with March Madness, baby. It's the best time of year. My favorite sporting event of the year. The first 2 days are it's just where you lose a lot of money, lose a lot of sleep, but you have a good time, right? You wake up, games start at 11. They go from 11 to basically 11 all day long, Thursday and Friday. You got your games, you got your slates. For the first time ever, I came out even, actually positive, the first weekend of March. I lost it all, and then somehow won it all back. It was great. It was fantastic. Billy, how was your March Madness experience?
Man, other than having a brutal cough with these allergies, it was good. I mean, the viewing was good, but the betting was not. I went 3-1. I made four. I had a four game parlay, and I went 3-1 in that the first day. And I know you're gonna hate me for this. I picked Creighton to beat Tennessee as a part of a big parlay. Ended up going 4-1 with that being the only loss. So you can hate me for that, and so can all the Tennessee fans. But I mean, I don't know if many Tennessee fans can blame me for Rick Barnes' lack of success in March. But no, credit where it's due. Tennessee went on a hell of a run. You know, it, with them making it all the way to the Elite Eight, you run into Zach Edey and Purdue. I know we'll get into it, but it was fun. It was fun to watch it, man. I mean, I really do respect Rick Barnes and what he's built there. So I know we'll get into that, but it wasn't good. I mean, I don't. It's so hard to bet March Madness. It just is. You go on a roll, you think you're hot with one of your parlays, and then Kentucky loses to Oakland, or NC State. I had Texas Tech winning. I had Texas Tech at the Sweet 16. But NC State keeps it rolling with DJ Burns. See, it's just things like that that makes it so hard to bet, but so fun to watch. And you know, I kind of stopped. I bet the first couple days, and then I had a parlay the Sweet 16 weekend. But after that, I was like, man, I'm just gonna enjoy. Like I'd rather sit and watch and watch the madness and you know, enjoy some good basketball as opposed to just sweating out bets and, being pissed that an over didn't hit or something like that. So no, it's been awesome. I think it's been a really good tournament and I think it's a really good Final Four. I mean, you got two teams that we think are probably going to be in the national title with Purdue and UConn, but does the DJ Burns run end yet? I mean, we don't know. So I know we'll get into that, but yeah, it's just so hard to bet, and I'll admit it was not good. I've never done well. I don't think I've ever won like three bets in a row in March Madness. It's just impossible. So yeah, but it was fun to watch them, and I mean it always is. Those are the two best days, Thursday and Friday, of the sports calendar, I think. So man, it's just so hard to bet, and hopefully we find a year maybe where we both get hot. Who knows?
You were a part of my most brutal March loss. That North Carolina loss was so
Mm.
tough. I put a decent amount of money on North Carolina. Actually, I put the most money I've ever put on a team on North Carolina. And you know what? It's that damn Crimson Tide, dude. No matter what, no matter where and what point in my life where I'm happy and I'm enjoying it, that elephant, that freaking dumb logo comes waltzing back into my life and taking the fun out of everything. They are my
Yeah,
mortal enemy.
I couldn't believe that. I mean, I think I texted you kind of jokingly, when you told me you had bet on North Carolina there. Deep down, I didn't really think Alabama was going to win, but I kind of made a joke and said, okay, now Bama's a lock, because you put all that money on them. But that's the tournament, man. You just never know. And Alabama figured some things out defensively. I didn't think UNC played well at all. I mean, I was not impressed with their effort. But Nate Oates does it again, man. And like you said, I'm sure it's really annoying for a lot of other SEC fan bases and especially Tennessee, to see Alabama in the Final Four, much less, beat UNC and keep rolling. But yeah, it's I mean, that's one of the brutal parts of March. That's the dark part of March that we always talk about.
That's a brutal part of this like color scheme that I'm currently wearing. It's the hardest part because no matter what, no matter in football, it's Alabama beating you and taking your soul, your spirit. Then you get to basketball, like that's been our sport lately. It's like, yeah, Bama's been good, but like we've been better. We've beaten them. We beat them twice this year. The first game we beat them by 20, and they're in the Final Four, and we've never made a Final Four. They do that before we did it. That hurts. We can't escape the pain, man. It's every year, no matter this school, this team finds a way to hurt me every year. And we can let's jump right into it with the Purdue thing. Because this has been weighing on my mind a little bit. Um, Billy, I don't know how much of the game you watched or if you got to watch all of that game. Um, That's the worst officiated game. Like, and I'm not. I'm kind of really against the referees won the game or this and that because the referees didn't win this game. Um, but a lot of the foul calls were so atrocious. Like, no wonder Zach Edey is, he puts the numbers up that he does. I mean, he shoots 400 free throws in a season. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
You look at
Yeah,
him and you're like,
it's just hard because here's my problem. Like I don't have as big of a problem with a lot of the fouls that were called. I know there were some that were iffy on Edie, but he gets fouled a lot. I mean that's how you have to guard him, right? I mean, you got to foul him a little bit. You just got to hope that the game is called a certain way, and it wasn't for Tennessee. The way it was called, Tennessee did all they could. They couldn't really do anything else in that game. But like I said, my issue wasn't with necessarily the fouls that were called against Tennessee. It was the fouls that weren't called from Zach Edey. I thought Edey had, I mean, he only had one foul called against him. And, Purdue fans were up in arms about it. It's like he should have been called for at least three. I mean, he threw an elbow on Adu, I think specifically, and so that was my problem. It was the fouls that weren't called against Zach Edey as opposed to the fouls that that were called on Tennessee. And again, Tennessee did just about all they could. I thought Ziegler could have played better. Adu was a real no-show. And you couldn't have that. You couldn't have that against Zach Edey. But I mean, how about Estrella, JP Estrella, what he was able to do when he was in there? I thought, Owaka was in foul trouble, of course, too. Meshack didn't really do much. But I mean, Dalton Connect, for him to score almost 40 and Tennessee to still lose, you can't really ask for much more. We saw that in a game earlier this season. I think it was Kentucky against Tennessee, where Connect had 40 or at least almost 40, but Tennessee loses. And that was when I kind of looked at it and said, okay, connected all he could, but Tennessee still couldn't get over the hump. And I kind of looked at that and went, okay, maybe that'll happen in March. Like maybe that's the way they go out. And maybe that's the way to beat them. Maybe the way to beat Tennessee is to let Connect have his, but do your best to try to shut down Ziegler and limit Adu. And, I thought Purdue did that. The shot that Lance Jones hit to put him up by 6 with just under 3 to go, I thought was the game. It was just such a big shot, kind of rattled home. And that 6-point lead felt like 16. It was just kind of how the game was played slow. And when it's played slow, Purdue rarely loses. I mean, unless you're playing UConn, Purdue's going to win most games. And again, credit to Tennessee. They did all they could. I did think Rick Barnes could have probably played the officials a little bit more. I'm not saying get teed up or get ejected or anything, but, I didn't see as much anger from Rick Barnes as there was and maybe should have been, especially from fans, and Barnes isn't that kind of guy. He's not going to play the refs maybe the way fans want him to. I thought there could have been maybe a little bit more. Maybe they get a call or two, maybe not. But I just think they couldn't have done much else. The game definitely could have been called differently. I mean, the 3-second call, the lack of it was ridiculous. I mean, he just camps in the lane, and you're not going to beat him that way. And he wasn't great from the free throw line. He had so many trips that you're going to hit a good amount because he goes so many times, but I just thought I thought they played pretty well. They could have shot better, of course. Both teams could have shot better. But like I said, when it's called like that, it's hard to beat Purdue. So either way, I still think Tennessee had a great year, and you can be proud of Tennessee. I think you could argue they're the third best team right now in the tournament. I mean, if they were in the West, maybe they come out of the West and maybe they're playing UConn in a Final Four instead of Alabama. You never know. So I know, I know that that hurts, but at the end of the day, man, it was a hell of a season, and you were able to get a guy like Dalton Connect on campus, and it just wasn't enough late for Zach Edey. And I did think some of his comments were out of touch there. I don't know why he had to rip Rick Barnes for overlooking him. I mean, his only other offer was from like Baylor. I mean, he wasn't a very highly recruited kid, and so he was overlooked by a lot of people. I mean, he wasn't even a top 100 player. So I thought that was kind of out of place, and especially towards a guy with as much class as Rick Barnes. And then some of his comments after the game, that were caught by the mics were kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, good for him. I mean, it was his moment. But at the end of the day, Tennessee, I really don't think Tennessee could have done much else. I mean, they did pretty much all they could against a guy like Zach Edey, and in order to try to win.
Shoot. Free throw statistics. Free throw stats wise, Edey himself shot 22, right? Tennessee as a team shot 11. One player doubled the entire team in free throws. Now that's attempts, that's not makes, but still, that's I don't know how many times that's really happened. They shot 30, I think as a team, 35, 34 free throws. It was over 30, and Tennessee was at 11. But at the end of the day, you can't shoot 10 of 31 as a team besides Dalton and expect to win. That was kind of my thinking going into the tournament. It's like Dalton's gonna do his work and he's gonna put in work, but who's gonna help? And you kind of got that the first couple of games, but they really weren't pushed that hard. Like Texas was a good team. They played Tennessee played terribly. Connect didn't have his best game. We still pulled it out, and that was kind of that turning point. Creighton just out physical them. It's what we did against Duke last year. And you get to Purdue, and I'll be honest with you, Billy. I saw that logo on the bracket, and I was like, well, it's been such a fun run, but this is probably where it ends. There wasn't many high hopes over here in this household going into that Purdue game. But they played well. Dalton Connect, never forget you, my sweet prince. Just build him a I want a statue in my house of that man. Like, unbelievable season, unbelievable player, unbelievable dude. I hate that it was a 1 year thing, but the best things leave us early. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue with it. I mean, the way UConn's playing right now, you're not gonna beat UConn. UConn is, I mean, they're probably the most dominant basketball team. I know they are the most dominant basketball team I've ever watched play. They won a Sweet 16 game by 30. Um, they won their Elite Eight game by 20. They won on a 30 to nothing run against Illinois, and Illinois is a good team. Um, so I'm gonna be rooting for UConn this Saturday because I want them to obliterate Alabama. Like my that I will always fade Alabama, Billy. Alabama just made an enemy for life. I don't care who Bama's playing. I'm picking the other team for life until the day I die. I will beat Alabama. I will single-handedly end Alabama. Sports wise, I want it. I want to be the one who's responsible for that. And I will search for it until the day I die. But yeah, it's a good season. Can't be too mad. Well, next year scares me because there's nothing on that team as of right now. Um, yeah, nothing excites me so far about basketball next year. But I know what does excite me about basketball next year. It's black and it's gold and it's a little bit of white. You got your guy. You got your guy, Billy. Mark Byington, I think I'm pronouncing that
Yep.
correctly. From JMU, I love JMU this year. I had them beating Wisconsin. I won money off that. I had them beating Duke. Didn't win money off that, but I like the way that JMU team played in the tournament. They look fun. I like Byington a lot. And it seems like this guy cares a lot. Billy, what's your vibes so far from this hire?
Yeah, I like it. I think he's an impressive guy. He's coached, at some places that, were really struggling before he got there, and he built them up. Georgia Southern, he was there. He didn't make a tournament ever. But in a tough Sun Belt league, he had them in a championship 1 year. I think he had them in the semis a couple years. And then he was with JMU. He got hired during the COVID year. And so, he didn't really have a big fancy press conference. It was just like a Zoom, meeting press conference. And, that he had them during their transition into the Sun Belt from the CAA and built them into a tournament team, a dangerous 12 seed that, like you said, beat Wisconsin. And so, he built that program. He built two programs to a level that they had never been. I think Vanderbilt needed a proven winner, a proven program builder, and that's what he is. And they need that. They need a guy that will come here, embrace the city, utilize NIL that Vanderbilt has. They do have, recruit, get back to recruiting, and embrace the former players and get fans back in Memorial. That's the most important thing, and I think he's doing everything in his power to do that. He's saying the right things. He's talking to the right people. Got to meet him after his introductory presser. He's just a approachable guy, relatable, easygoing, really nice guy. And I think Vanderbilt got the right coach. I think, initially, when he was hired, there was a thought that Vanderbilt missed out on a couple guys. They wanted Dusty May, and I heard they were close to getting it done with Dusty May, actually. Of course, he ended up going to Michigan, and then Chris Mack was a guy that was popular. I think we might have talked about him being a candidate. Obviously, he ended up being hired by College of Charleston, replacing Pat Kelsey. But as he started to look into the hire and what he's done and then his introductory press conference, it was impressive. And I think he's the perfect coach for Vanderbilt right now. He went over to one of the frat houses and met some of those guys and said, hey, I'll get this thing going. I promise. Right. We're going to get this thing going. And, and he gets it. He gets it. He understands what Vanderbilt needs right now. He knows that the fans are hungry for success. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be a fun season, whether they make postseason play or not. Um, I think he has what it takes to improve this program immediately. He talked about that in an interview with Dan Dockich with Outkick actually today, and he said, "Hey, a lot of coaches when they get hired, they talk about, we're going to rebuild this. Give me 2 to 3 years, we'll be fine." He's saying, "No, give me 2 to 3 months, and we'll have it going." So he's confident. He's saying all the right things, and I think fans are excited, and they should be. Vanderbilt basketball, like we talked about, should be a top 25 program. They should be getting to NCAA tournaments. They should be making a Sweet 16 every few years because that's been proven. Now, is that the ceiling? Probably. That's traditionally that's the ceiling for Vanderbilt. They're not an elite program, but they're an upper echelon SEC program, and they just haven't done anything in the last 7 years. I think that's hurt them a little bit, kind of with their reputation. And there's a lot of questions out there. Can they win with NIL? They've got the money. They've needed the right coach, and I think they've got him now. So I love it, Chase. I love everything about him. And he's coached in a lot of different areas. He's been an assistant. He was an assistant at Virginia. He's got connections. He's a grinder. He made a joke. He said, I've got a living situation right now, courtesy of Vanderbilt, but I'd sleep in the locker room if I have to right now. Like he's a grinder. So I think fans are excited, and I think they should be. And now it's just, can they get guys in the portal? What does his staff look like? And we'll see who they get. We'll see who they keep from the team. But I think you could expect an immediate fun product at least. I don't know about immediate, great success in the win column. We'll see. I mean, he's talking confidently about it. But no, I think it's a really good hire, and I think fans should be excited about him.
I think after Stackhouse and the misery that he put you guys through, I think you need a grinder. Somebody who's just like, dude, I'll do anything for this team. I'll cut my arm off. I'll cut my leg off. I just want to win to be successful. That kind of coach, you look at that's Dan Hurley-esque, and that dude is crazy, and he's winning big time games. Albeit at a big time program, but like you said, Vanderbilt top SEC team. And honestly, I'm gonna give you a hot take right now. I'll give you a hot take. Vanderbilt makes the tournament next year. I'm confident. I said that last year going into basketball season. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna reuse that take from last year. I think Vanderbilt makes the tournament. I'm not gonna say high seed. I'll say I think it'll be double digit, but I think they'll make the tournament.
I like it. I mean, who knows? Who knows? In today's day and age, I mean, you saw Ole Miss get really good in year one. They didn't make the tournament, but I mean, you can do it quickly, especially in basketball. It takes 2 or 3 guys. It's not like football where, you need a good 11, or even 22 on both sides of the ball. Basketball, you need 2 or 3 guys, and if he could do that, yeah, they could make the tournament. I don't know if I would agree with that, but you never know. I mean, you never know in today's day and age. And like I said, he's got everything he needs. I think he's saying the right things, and we'll see. But Chase, like you said, I'm with you, man. And they need a grinder, and they need a guy that will do everything it takes to get students back in that gym, get fans back in that gym. It deserves to be packed, and loud, and a tough place to play because that's what it has been. And they needed a guy not like Stackhouse. I know that's easy to say, but I think they got a guy like that, and they've got a guy that has built programs before. So I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited about I'm excited about the build. I love a good build, and I think Byington's the guy that I like I said earlier in the year, you need a guy who's gonna, bleed Vanderbilt and bleed Vanderbilt basketball. He strikes me as a guy who's like all in. Like if he's in, he's all in, which is I think is gonna be
Yeah.
great for that program, and I'm super excited. Um,
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's tough in this league. You're in the SEC where Kentucky's still good. Tennessee's going to still be good. Florida, Georgia's on the rise again too. You got other programs that are doing the same things, right, and trying to get the same guys. But I think he understands the challenges of getting certain kids in. He's going to go after the right type of kid. He's a culture guy. Stackhouse didn't have a culture, right? There was no culture. He couldn't retain players. He didn't recruit well. I don't think he was an awful coach. Like I think he's a pretty good basketball mind. But at the end of the day, man, it's about getting dudes, and Stackhouse just didn't do enough of that. And I think Byington understands that. You know, he talked about how he's not good enough to coach bad players, right? It's about getting players in here, and who knows? Maybe they make the tournament, but even if they don't, I think you'll see a fun product, and I think that's what fans been missing too. You know, reason to come to the gym. They haven't had a reason, to come to Memorial, and I think he can change that.
Um, yeah, like I said, I'm really excited. We're making the tournament. I don't know if you can I don't know if you can put money on that, but I kind of want to. I think that's a good. I bet you I could get good odds on that, and that would be a fun sweat all year long. Um, Speaking of sports that Vanderbilt really doesn't have to sweat in, I think it's time for our main event. We've been talking about it. We've been gassing it up. We teased you a month ago when we were here last about this segment, but it's here to stay, and it's here for good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna pass the mic off to Billy Derrick because it's time for Billy's baseball corner. Let's go, Billy. Give us some baseball corner. I'm ready.
Here we go. Vandy right now is a really good team, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody who has followed college baseball, and especially Vanderbilt and Nashville. Um, I don't think they are a top five team technically right now. They very well could be, but rankings wise, um, that they've got the number 10 overall seed right now according to D1 Baseball. So that would be paired with the 7 seed right now. They are 22 in the RPI right now, I think I saw. So, right outside the top 20, which isn't bad at all. But if you look at their SEC games so far, they swept Auburn. Auburn, I think, is a really good team. They were able to sweep them at home. But they got swept at South Carolina, which, was tough. South Carolina is a pretty good team. Um, they're not elite, but I still think that's a tough series to win. And I think Vanderbilt needs to start avoiding sweeps if they can, when they get in that situation. But then they come home and they sweep Missouri, a really bad Missouri team. Their pitching isn't awful, but Vanderbilt, I thought, could have scored some more runs in that. They had a game canceled earlier this week against Western Kentucky, but they got a big series starting tomorrow night at LSU. That game will be on ESPN tomorrow night, and then SEC Network Friday, and then they've got an afternoon game on Saturday. But I'm interested to see how they look this weekend. LSU is a team that has struggled so far. They're 2-7 in the league, but they still got a ton of talent. I mean, we know what Jay Johnson has done over there. They lost Skeens and Cruz. They still got Tommy White. They got a couple of really good pitchers. But for Vanderbilt, I'm interested to see this weekend. They kind of melted down at South Carolina. They had to play 2 on Saturday and then another on Sunday, and they just kind of let the snowball keep sliding down the hill. I'm interested to see if Vanderbilt can just take care of business. I mean, they should win this series. They need a good weekend. LSU's good. It's not going to be easy at all. But I think if they can get a win in this series, I think that would prove that they're back. They're back in the right direction, and they're still an elite program in the country. And then you got A&M on the road next weekend. A&M is obviously a really good team this year. And then you host Florida, and then you host Mississippi State, and then at Georgia, and then Tennessee at home. So this is a gauntlet coming up. I mean, this is going to be a tough next month or so for Vandy. So I'm just interested to see, can their pitching staff hold up? I like their staff right now. Carter Holton is their ace, and he's rolling. Bryce Cunningham is a guy that has emerged as a starter. Their bullpen's a little shaky so far. They're banged up with certain guys, but I also like Grayson Carter, who's hitting triple digits occasionally too. So he's a talented guy. But Vanderbilt's a different type of team, Chase. They don't have the power like a Tennessee or an A&M or a Georgia, but they play differently. They steal bases. They play some small ball. They hit for a decent average, and they get on base, but I think they're going to need a little bit more power, especially when you play teams like Texas A&M and Florida on the road. And then you play Georgia, who, went bombs away against Tennessee in game one, even though Tennessee did end up winning that series. And then you got Tennessee and Nashville, which, I know a lot of people are excited about, but they just they need to keep it going. They need to steady the ship because I know they swept Missouri last weekend, but at the end of the day, the SEC is the SEC. It's a monster. And look, I think this team can still host a regional. I think they could be a national seed easily. Um, are they an Omaha team? Who knows? I mean, it like March Madness, it's a lot about matchups and who you have to play on the way there. But I think this team has everything they need. It's just going to be about staying healthy, maintaining that confidence. I think this weekend with LSU is it's a big series just to prove that you are, an elite team and you can still go on the road and win series. It can't have another meltdown like they did against South Carolina. So, yeah, still another Corbin type team where they play hard, they play smooth defense. Defense needs to get a little bit better, especially on the right side of the infield. But at the end of the day, Chase, it's still a Tim Corbin coach team, and they're going to be ready to play most series. So I don't have much to worry about with this team, but there are some slight concerns that I think could pop up, especially against some of these really good SEC teams. But overall, I really like this team.
I'm excited for that series in Nashville. I'm going. I've decided that I think I'm gonna try to be there for the Saturday and Sunday games. I think you're gonna be there as well, more than likely.
So I'm so mad about this, but I have to go to a wedding that weekend.
Oh,
Of
it's
course,
so tough.
I know of
Oh,
all the weekends, I looked at this and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'll be watching. I'll be trying to watch closely. I think Friday night, and then you got Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday. But yeah, I mean that's one of the more fun rivalries in the country, I think, in baseball, and it's gonna be fun. Vandy needs to win it. I mean they've gotten swept the last 2 years, but Tony Vitello's got them rolling again. But yeah, I'm so mad about that. I will not be able to be there.
I will be boots on the ground. I'll have some reports. Kind of how the vibe is going. I'll do my best sideline reporting. Uh, it's my trial. That's my tryout tournament. My tryout series. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to that. I love Tennessee and Vanderbilt baseball. It's probably in terms of you and I, our teams, this is probably our best rivalry baseball right now,
Oh
as of
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, basketball, football, Vanderbilt has just been a no-show against Tennessee, but baseball, I think there's still that confidence that okay, we can beat Tennessee. We can hold our own, especially with a lot of the recruiting battles in state. But they gotta. It's a big series for both teams. It always is. It could be a top five series. It's fun, man. With you got tempers flaring, you got two different styles between Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt, and then Tennessee. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's easily the best rivalry between these two teams with the sports.
well, I am very much looking forward to that. And Billy, I'm very much looking forward to us being what was that word? Oh yeah, back, baby. That's what we are. All the way. Not halfway, not semi way. All the freaking way. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way. We're back, baby. That's gonna do it. I am Chase, along with the great and the wonderful Billy Derrick. We're gonna be back. I don't know when, but we will be back. And it's getting closer to football season. We talked about this off air, Billy. Our favorite segment is slightly approaching. I can hear it just in the distance whispering in our ears. College football offers. College football. You can just hear it whispering so slightly. But that is going to do it for
I
us.
love it.
You guys have a great night. Billy, thank you for joining us again. It's been
You
great.
got it.
We will catch you guys soon. Peace out.